My parents celebrated my daughter's 15th birthday by kicking us out. They handed my daughter a key in a velvet box, making her think it was for a car, to humiliate her. Then they told us we had 24 hours to move into the moldy, unlivable shed in the backyard. I didn't shout. I took action. 7 days later, they were the ones screaming in a panic. That morning, everything looked normal. Too normal. The house smelled like sugar and coffee, the kind of smell that tricks you into thinking people can change. My mother hummed while she set out plates. My father polished silverware like we were the Rockefellers. For once, there was no shouting, no criticism, no frost in their voices. Georgina, my daughter, 15 today, was radiant. She'd braided her own hair, put on the dress I'd found secondhand, but pressed until it shone. She kept smiling at me, whispering, "Mom, maybe this year they'll actually be nice." I smiled back, though something in me twisted. After everything they'd said and done, I should have known better. But I wanted to believe too. It was her birthday. What mother doesn't want her child to have one good memory? Then I saw the car. Silver. Brand new. A huge red bow tied across the hood like a movie prop. I didn't know when they'd brought it, but there it sat in the driveway, glittering in the sun. Georgina gasped. "Do you think I don't know," I said. Inside, something small and foolish fluttered in my chest. Maybe. In hindsight, I feel stupid for it. They'd never done a kind thing without a price. But in that moment, I let myself believe. My brother Ryan arrived just after noon with his perfect wife, Amanda, and their even more perfect daughter, Brianna. They were all smiles and laughter, the kind that fills a room and leaves no space for anyone else. My parents ushered them in like royalty. "Let's start with presents," my mother announced. "Food can wait." Of course it could. Georgina opened a few small gifts, bracelets, perfume, things chosen by people who didn't know her. When she opened mine, a sketchbook I'd spent weeks saving for, she hugged me so tight I thought my ribs would crack. Then my father tapped his glass. "We've got one more surprise for our birthday girl." My mother stepped forward, holding a small velvet box. She looked radiant, proud, the way she used to look at Ryan when he won trophies. "You're 15 now, sweetheart," she said. "Almost grown up. You deserve something special." Georgina's hands shook as she lifted the lid. A key, silver, gleaming. Her mouth fell open. "Is this?" She looked at me, hope flooding her face. "It has to be," I whispered. "What else could it be?" My heart actually skipped. It sounds ridiculous now, but for that 1 second, I believed we'd finally been forgiven, for existing, for being the wrong kind of family. I thought they'd chosen kindness. Then my mother clapped her hands. "Before we go outside, there's another celebration." The kitchen door swung open. My father carried a massive cake. 3 layers, gold frosting, words piped across the top. "Congratulations, Brianna." Georgina blinked. "Why does it say Brianna?" Amanda beamed. "Oh, didn't anyone tell you?" "Brianna passed her driver's test this morning." Cheers erupted. My mother hugged Brianna. Ryan puffed up with pride. And then my mother, grinning wide, pulled another key from her pocket, a key with a car fob dangling from it. "For our talented granddaughter," she said. "The car outside is hers." The room exploded again. Cameras flashed, glasses clinked. Brianna squealed and ran to the window. I just stood there, frozen. Georgina's hand went limp around the silver key. Her smile faded so slowly it broke my heart. I caught her eyes. Confusion, pain, disbelief. I wanted to tell her something comforting, anything, but my throat had closed. When the noise finally died down, my mother turned, still beaming. "Oh, sweetheart, don't look so shocked," she said. "Your key's for something different, your own space. You'll love it." My own space? Georgina asked, voice trembling. Dad smiled. Come on, we'll show you. They led us through the kitchen, out the back door, into the late afternoon light. I remember the smell: grass, gasoline, rain. They stopped at the old shed behind the house, the one I'd begged them to tear down. Dad unlocked the door with a rusty screech and swung it open. The smell hit first, mold and damp wood. Mom spread her arms. Your new room. Private. Peaceful. Perfect for you and your mother. Inside, the walls sagged. The roof leaked. The floor was soft with rot. A spider crawled across a cracked window pane. Georgina just stared. You're serious? Ryan crossed his arms. You said you wanted independence. Amanda added brightly. And Brianna needs your room inside for her studio. Isn't that wonderful? I felt my stomach drop, then something sharper replace it. A kind of calm. The calm that comes right before a storm. I smiled. A slow, quiet smile that made my mother's face tighten. Thank you, I said. Truly. I'll never forget this day. She frowned. Don't start with your attitude, Laura. Oh, don't worry, I said. I won't say a word. I pulled out my phone and snapped a photo of the shed, the key, their proud, stupid faces. Dad blinked. What's that for? Memories, I said. You know how sentimental I am. That night, Georgina sat on her bed holding the key. Her eyes were dry now, hollow. Mom, she whispered, what are we going to do? I brushed a strand of hair from her face. We're going to pack. She nodded, biting her lip. Do we have somewhere to go? Not yet, I said, but we will. We always do. I looked at her, my daughter who still apologized for existing, and felt something inside me harden into steel. I didn't shout. I didn't cry. But 7 days later, they did. Because you don't hand my child a key to a shed and call it love. People think that what happened on Georgina's 15th birthday came out of nowhere. It didn't. It was just the latest chapter in a book my parents have been writing since the day I was born. I was the afterthought. Ryan, 7 years older, firstborn, golden boy, was the one they'd actually wanted. I was the surprise. They said that a lot. You were such a surprise, Laura, like I was a traffic accident that could talk. Ryan could breathe and get applause for it. If he got a B in math, Mom blamed the teacher. If I got an A, she asked if I'd copied. That was the rhythm of our house. Praise for him, silence for me. By the time I turned 18, I thought I'd finally escaped that pattern. Then I met a boy who said all the right things. He vanished the second I told him I was pregnant. When I told my parents, Dad stared like I'd spat on the floor. Mom said, "At least it'll teach you responsibility." Ryan's wife Amanda had just had a baby, Brianna, a beautiful, pink, 1-year-old prop for family pride. My parents were obsessed. They threw showers, took pictures, called her our little angel. When my daughter Georgina was born a year later, they looked at her like she was an overdue bill. Mom said, "Babies make everything sticky." That was her version of affection. They let me stay in the house, their house, because a single mother can't manage on her own. Translation: free help. I got the smallest room, barely big enough for a crib. The ceiling leaked. The floor slanted. They called it temporary. It lasted 15 years. Ryan and Amanda lived nearby in a picture-perfect home with a lawn so neat it could have been ironed. Every Sunday they came for dinner, carrying Brianna like royalty, while my parents tripped over themselves to take her. "She's so advanced for her age," Mom cooed. "She said grandma today." Meanwhile, Georgina toddled behind me holding my leg, invisible. I used to watch them, smiling on the outside, thinking, I wish my parents would look at her like that. Just once. Money was tight. I took whatever jobs I could, cleaning, front desk shifts, anything. One day the sink broke, the plumber canceled, and desperation did the rest. I fixed it myself with a borrowed wrench and a YouTube video. When the water stopped, I actually laughed. It felt good, competent, like I wasn't useless after all. So I learned more, took a few night classes, got certified. Not glamorous, but it paid bills. My parents made fun of it. "Ryan's wife owns a boutique," Mom said. "Our daughter plays plumber." But every time a pipe burst or a light flickered, guess who they called? Exactly. I started taking small repair jobs outside the house. Neighbors, friends of friends. Nothing fancy, just enough to build a little savings. Every dollar went into an envelope I kept taped behind a drawer. My freedom fund. Someday I'd use it for a down payment, a door no one could lock us out of. Through it all, Georgina stayed sweet. She grew up in that tiny room, content with fairy lights, paper sketches, and second-hand books. Sometimes I felt guilty that she was happy there. She'd say, "It's okay, Mom." It's home, I'd smile, but inside I'd think, not for long. She loved her grandparents even though they barely noticed her. When Brianna came over, Mom would beam like the queen had arrived. She'd shove cookies into Brianna's hands and say, "Don't make a mess, honey." Then glance at Georgina and add, "Laura, maybe teach your daughter some manners." Same cookies, different rules. That's the story of my life. Brianna always got the best of everything. New clothes, private lessons, birthday parties that looked like wedding receptions. Georgina got a hand-me-down sweater and a cake I baked after work. Still, she smiled. Always. Sometimes that smile broke me more than tears would have. A few days before her birthday, I'd spotted something small in the house that needed attention. One of those little problems I was forever fixing. I told myself I'd deal with it later, once work calmed down and things were quieter. Just another repair waiting its turn. I didn't know then how quickly everything else would come undone. When you spend your whole life being quiet, the first no sounds like an explosion. Mine did. It echoed through the house long after I said it. After the birthday, after the laughter and the cake for someone else, my parents gave us 24 hours to move into the shed. 24 hours to pack up 15 years of biting my tongue. I didn't argue. I just said, "Okay." Then I started moving, fast. Georgina followed me into our little room, still clutching that useless key. "Mom," she whispered, "are we really moving out there?" "No," I said, throwing open the closet. "We're moving out, period." She blinked. "But Grandma said—" "Grandma says a lot of things." "We're done listening." That was the moment my rebellion started. Not with shouting, not with revenge, just with the quiet decision to leave. And once I decided, the rest of it came easy. I packed the essentials first. Clothes, documents, Georgina's sketchbooks, the photo of her first day of school. Everything else. The furniture, the memories, the humiliation. I left behind. Downstairs, I could hear my parents laughing, wine glasses clinking. Ryan and Amanda were still there, celebrating their golden child's new car. The sound made my skin crawl. Georgina sat on the bed, pale and trembling. "Where will we go?" "I don't know yet," I said, "but anywhere is better than here." She nodded, trusting me completely. That kind of faith is heavy. It makes you braver than you are. I canceled the standing transfer labeled rent. Parents. That payment had been leaving my account every month for 15 years. The screen asked, "Are you sure you want to cancel this recurring payment?" "Yes," I whispered. It felt like cutting a chain. When we walked downstairs with our bags, my parents looked up, surprised. Mom said, "You're not serious?" "I've never been more serious." Dad frowned. "You can't just leave." "Where will you go?" "Not your concern." You're overreacting. No, I said. I'm reacting exactly enough. Ryan smirked. Good luck surviving out there, sis. I smiled back. Don't worry. I've been surviving in here long enough. Then I took Georgina's hand and walked out the front door. The night air hit like freedom and frost all at once. I could feel Georgina shaking beside me. Mom, she said softly, what if they're right? What if we can't do it? We will, I said. We always do. We loaded our things into my old truck, the rust bucket Dad loved to insult. It started on the third try. The engine coughed like it wanted to live. So did I. I didn't have a plan yet, just a direction, a way. We drove until the gas light blinked, stopped at a diner. The waitress took one look at Georgina's tired face and slid her extra whipped cream without asking. That small kindness almost undid me. While Georgina sipped cocoa, I texted a few people, old co-workers, clients, friends. One message came back fast. You and Georgina can stay here as long as you need. It was from Nora, a woman I'd worked with for years. Reliable, steady, kind. There, I said. We have somewhere to go. Georgina smiled. A real one. Told you we'd figure it out. For the first time in 15 years, silence meant peace. 2 whole weeks passed without a single word from my parents. No calls, no guilt trips, no carefully worded lectures about gratitude. Just quiet. It felt strange, almost dangerous, like walking on a frozen lake that might crack if you breathed too hard. We settled into Nora's place, living light, living free. Georgina started to laugh again. Real laughter, the kind that fills a room. I started to sleep. Some nights I even forgot to hate them. Then the phone rang. I saw my mother's name flash on the screen. For a second, I almost didn't recognize it. I answered before I could think better of it. Laura, she snapped, skipping hello. What did you do? Excuse me? Don't play dumb, she said. You did something before you left. What was it? I packed, I said. I left. That's all. Her breathing hissed through the line. You're lying. And then she hung up. I stared at the phone for a long moment. Nora raised an eyebrow. Problem? Apparently, I said. I've committed an unspeakable crime, but no one will tell me what it is. The next day, the phone rang again. Dad this time. Loud. Angry. What did you mess with? We can smell something. You did this. I didn't do anything, I said. You were the last one to touch anything in that house. I was the last one to touch everything in that house for 15 years, I said. Take your pick. He shouted something about responsibility. I hung up. The calls came in bursts after that. Every few days, sometimes from Mom, sometimes from Ryan, sometimes from numbers I didn't recognize. Every conversation was the same. Accusations, demands. I didn't bite. I just kept saying, I don't live there anymore. By the 3rd week, I'd stopped answering altogether. It was a Friday night when the pounding started. Not a polite knock, fists on wood, shaking the frame. Nora looked up from the couch. You expecting someone? No, I said. But in my stomach, I already knew. When I opened the door, there they were, my parents, standing on Nora's porch like a pair of ghosts that refused to stay buried. They looked furious, exhausted, out of place. Mom started talking before I could even breathe. You have to come home. Now. You have to fix it. Fix what? You know what? She said, voice rising. Don't pretend. It's your fault, and you're going to make it right. I leaned against the doorframe. I don't fix things for you anymore. Dad stepped forward. You're being childish. Whatever you did, undo it. We can't... Can't what? I asked. can't live like this, Mom shouted. You owe us! Behind me, Nora appeared silently, arms crossed. Everything okay here? My parents froze. They hadn't expected an audience. We're fine, I said. They were just leaving. Mom's eyes flicked to Georgina, who had come to the hallway, half hidden. You're teaching her terrible habits, she hissed. Boundaries? I said. Yeah, I guess I am. I stepped back inside and closed the door, gentle but final. The house was quiet again, except for the rain starting outside. Georgina stood there, small and steady. What did they want? To make me crawl, I said. It didn't work. She smiled, a little proud, a little sad. You're not scared of them anymore, she said. No, I said. Not anymore. Outside, thunder rolled somewhere in the distance. I looked toward the window, the sky dark and heavy, and for the first time in years, I didn't wonder what might be breaking back there. It wasn't mine to fix. They thought I'd come running when they snapped their fingers. They thought I'd always be the one patching the holes. But the truth was simple. I was done holding their house together. Let them learn what happens when you drive away the person who kept the walls from falling. A few days after they showed up on Nora's porch, the silence came back. But this time it didn't feel like peace. It felt like a storm holding its breath. At first, I thought maybe they'd finally given up, moved on to new victims, maybe the mailman. Then the messages started. A client canceled a job with no explanation. A neighbor who'd always been friendly stopped waving. And one afternoon, Nora called from work, voice sharp. Laura, have you seen what your mother's posting online? I hadn't, but I looked. There it was. A Facebook post that started with, My daughter destroyed our home out of spite. Screenshots, wild claims, paragraphs of self-pity. Apparently, I'd tampered with the pipes before I left, causing catastrophic damage. According to her, I'd committed a deliberate act of cruelty. Ryan and Amanda had commented little hearts underneath. Because of course they had. I sat at Nora's kitchen table, scrolling, reading, shaking. Nora watched me quietly. You okay? Sure, I said. I always wanted to be famous for plumbing. The next few days were hell. Relatives called, demanding to know what I'd done. Someone posted my business page on a community forum with the caption, Would you hire a woman who sabotaged her parents' house? Half my upcoming work vanished in 48 hours. I didn't respond. Not yet. I screenshotted everything. Every lie, every comment, every digital knife. If there's one thing I learned from my parents, it's that you should always document abuse. Georgina caught me scrolling one night. She saw the screen and went pale. Why are they doing this? Because losing control feels worse to them than losing everything else. She looked like she wanted to cry. I just smiled thinly. Don't worry, sweetheart. I'll fix this too. Just not the way they expect 2 days later. I did. I wrote one short post. No anger, no name-calling. Just facts. A few photos. The velvet box, the moldy shed, date stamps from the night they kicked us out. And one sentence. We left the house 2 weeks before anything happened. We haven't been back since. That was it. By morning, it had 1,000 shares. By noon, 2,000. People weren't stupid. They saw the pattern. Parents who humiliate, then blame. Sympathy rolled in faster than hate ever had. Old clients rebooked. New ones appeared. A lawyer friend of Nora's helped me send a cease and desist for defamation. The post disappeared within the week. So did what little was left of their reputation. Then came the calls again. But now they didn't sound angry. They sounded desperate. Laura, you have to help us. The house, it's getting worse. You owe us. We gave you everything. I didn't even argue. I don't owe you a thing, I said. You gave me trauma, not a mortgage. Then I hung up. Nora found me afterward, standing at the sink, hands shaking. "You sure you're okay?" she asked. "I'm fine," I said, though I could feel the ache in my chest. "It's just weird, you know? Watching karma do my job for once." Weeks passed. Word spread that the house was in trouble. Black mold, collapsing floorboards, a smell so bad neighbors complained. Insurance refused to pay. Rumor was, a contractor quoted them $120,000 to repair it. More than the house was worth by then. They couldn't afford it. Eventually, the bank started foreclosure proceedings. Ryan stopped visiting. Amanda posted inspirational quotes about boundaries, like she'd invented the concept. Through all of it, I stayed quiet. I didn't post updates, I didn't gloat. But every time I walked past a hardware store, I smiled at the irony. They'd thrown away the one person who could have saved them. The day I saw the auction notice, I had to read it twice. The address was my parents'. The same house I'd grown up in. The one I'd scrubbed, repaired, painted, held together by sheer will. Now it was listed for public sale. As is. I sat down at Nora's table with the newspaper and laughed until I cried. Georgina came running. "What's funny?" "Nothing," I said, wiping my eyes. "Everything." I circled the date. The auction was held in a municipal hall that smelled like dust and despair. Men in suits whispered numbers. When the auctioneer read the address aloud, my chest tightened. Bidding started high, then dropped fast. The house's conditions scared them off. Mold, rot, bad press. When the room went quiet, I raised my hand. No one outbid me. I got it for a fraction of what it was once worth. It wasn't even enough for my parents to cover the mortgage, so even after losing the house, they still owed the bank. It was official. I owned the house that used to own me. A year later, everything has changed. The house that used to fall apart now shines. I rebuilt it myself, every wall, every corner. What would have cost anyone else a fortune just took me time and a toolbox. Now it's ours, paid off, untouchable. My business is booming. After people heard the story, everyone wanted to hire the woman who rebuilt her life with her own hands. I have more clients than I can handle. For the first time in my life, success doesn't come with someone else's permission. Georgina's 16 now. She's happy, confident, and loud in a way she never was before. Today's her birthday. I handed her a velvet box this morning. She opened it, saw the key, and laughed. "It's not for a shed, right?" "No," I told her. "It's for your car." Paid in full. Across town, my parents are still renting a tiny studio, still paying off debt on a house they no longer own. Ryan and Amanda don't speak to them. The Golden family cracked under the weight of their own pride. And Brianna? The car with the red bow is long gone. Repossessed months ago. I got the house for a fraction of what it was worth. They lost everything, and I built something better from the ruins. So what do you think? Did I go too far, or not far enough? Let me know in the comments, and subscribe for more.